Watching The Buck Stops Here, and I'm Barkha Dutt. On the program tonight, as ever, we bring you 60 minutes of politics unlimited. And the big story tonight, of course, is the fact that the Delhi Chief Minister has called off his dharna. What are the political implications of what we've seen unfold in Delhi over the last 48 hours? Let's bring you the headlines straight away. The government has blinked. 2 police officers have been sent on leave. This is the partial acceptance of Arvind Kejriwal's demands. After the Lieutenant Governor's appeal and this announcement, Arvind Kejriwal has called off his dharna. Is this a climb down for him or is it advantage, Arvind?
मैं दिल्ली के लोगों को बधाई देना चाहता हूं। अभी एलजी महोदय ने एक अपील जारी की है। एलजी महोदय ने कहा है कि गणतंत्र दिवस की पवित्रता और राष्ट्रीय सुरक्षा की चुनौती के मद्देनजर मुख्यमंत्री अपनी कैबिनेट के साथ धरना खत्म करें।
Is this going to be a victory for people power, as Arvind Kejriwal says, or will it set a dangerous new precedent for Indian politics? On the program today, we'll also be looking at the response of the BJP. The BJP is accusing the Congress of being guilty of abetment to anarchy.
ये जो पूरा नाटक चल रहा है, ये कांग्रेस का साझा हुआ ये मिली भगत का नाटक है.
So was it a joint operation of the Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party, as the BJP alleges, or is the truth simply that the Congress has been outsmarted in the game of one-upmanship? All right, our big debate on the Buck Stops Here tonight is quite simply this. Will the grammar of anarchy, quoting from Baba Saheb Ambedkar's famous comments on anarchy, write the future and the fate of 2014? Or has the Aam Aadmi Party scripted a completely new brand of politics, rewriting new rules for the Republic? A Republic Day, by the way, that Arvind Kejriwal said has often been reduced to a Republic Day for VIPs. He had threatened to fill the streets with lakhs of people. But the more important political question tonight, as the government blinks, has the Congress been outsmarted? Simply outsmarted, because it keeps criticizing the Aam Aadmi Party, yet it doesn't seem to know what to do in the game of one-upmanship. Let's go straight now to our newsmaker tonight. The leader of the opposition in Parliament from the BJP, Arun Jaitley, is joining us now. Mr. Jaitley, your first thoughts. It has not been a complete acceptance of what Arvind Kejriwal demanded. Mr. Kejriwal wanted 4 officers suspended. We have one SHO on leave instead. You have another connected to the Danish rape case who's on leave. And in the other case, which is the case of allegations of burn injuries, Mr. Kejriwal says that, well, the accused have been arrested, so it was no longer necessary for the police officers to be transferred. Is this a victory for Mr. Kejriwal provided to him by the government?
Well, my one and only reaction in the first instance is, thank God it's over. Delhi deserved much better, India deserved much better than this. But on a serious political analysis, I think this episode has produced 2 big losers. The very big loser in this is the Aam Aadmi Party. The Aam Aadmi Party made a dramatic entry into Delhi's politics. It gained a lot, and suddenly it was showing its visibility in other parts of the country also. It was a new entrant into the electoral politics. He has lost a very large part of his political constituency. The sober people in Delhi who voted for him, I think a lot of them are put off by his conduct. The media was he had a very favorable response from the media all these days. He earned the hostility. There is a war against him and his party on the social media today. He lost the goodwill of that. And he projected himself as somebody who's anarchic, who has no stake in the system, and who can be highly irresponsible, is a very dangerous politician to have in a position of responsibility. At the end of the day, he threatened to disturb the Republic Day. Why? Because one SHO was not transferred. The world will laugh at us for a non-transfer of an SHO India's Republic Day is to get disturbed. That is the politics of Arvind Kejriwal and the Aam Aadmi Party. No sensible person can ever associate with a party of this kind.
Let me put it to you another way.
As far as the Congress Party and the central government...
Okay, complete your point. Mr. Jetty,
as far as the Congress Party and the... As far as the Congress Party and the central government is concerned, they wanted to resist this. The Aam Aadmi government is their creation. It's a government without a majority. They propped it up because they are not in a position to face another election in Delhi. And at the end of the day, they blinked. They offered a lifeline, a weak lifeline. One PCR operator has been, a PCR van operator has been asked to go on leave in the Danish rape case, which I am told is completely independent of this agitation, which was happening in any case. The second, the SHO has been asked to go on leave. I think in terms of sheer governance, it sends a very bad precedent. A bad precedent because you are allowing a politician to interfere in a police function. A police function is to balance between the requirements of law and the liberty of a citizen. You and I can't be raided just because a mob collects outside our house and says, please raid them. That's not the law. It can't be done that way. And therefore, if the government comes in a case like this, it sets a very bad precedent. Decisions which are taken because there is a pressure of a mob are strictly not always the correct decision. The Congress and the government have exposed their own weakness.
Okay.
The last 2 days, they were pontificating that they will fight him out. They were willing to uphold, but they were unwilling to strike. And therefore, they offered a weak lifeline and fought a way out. At the end of the day, my last comment is, perhaps Mr. Shinde has saved the Republic Day, but he has weakened the Indian Republic.
Those are strong words. Could I ask you what you would have done had your party been in power? Because the Congress is arguing today that we had to compromise somewhat because we needed to save the Republic Day and the preparations were more important than, some kind of politics. That's been the spokesperson's response.
Well, I think the Aam Aadmi Party's support was completely exposed. At no point of time could they get people in thousands to assemble at that point. It was a few hundred, the rest was media. There was also a presence of a large number of policemen. The weather conditions were not very favorable to the agitators. And therefore, to deal with an agitation of this kind, you require a certain amount of statecraft. You have all the administrative powers. You need not resort to lathi charge. You need not resort to any form of repressive measures. You can do a lot of things. You can cordon off the area. You can have Section 144. You can ask the OB vans to leave under Section 144. If you had just asked the OB vans to leave under Section 144, the lifeline to the agitation itself would have been
But then the media and the Aam Aadmi Party would have argued that it's anti-democratic. Why should the way to counter an agitation be to snuff out the media?
Day after tomorrow, you have a full dress rehearsal. You can't allow an agitation where there is a full dress rehearsal of the Republic Day or a Republic Day. Therefore, the media also would have been responsible to say, we can't be privy to a fact where a Republic Day disturbance is caused because we want our vans to assemble. On 26th January, you can't have your van assembling at the Rajpath. Similarly, there are so many powers which are available with the government. You had a few hundred agitators to deal with. Did Mr. Narasimha Rao's government deal with Mr. Tikait's agitation in the early 90s in the same manner? They had cordoned off the area, they had cut off the supplies in the area, municipal facilities were not available, and therefore after a few days they had to just wither away.
Are you suggesting incompetence by Sushil Kumar Shinde or are you suggesting design?
I think you have a nervous central government. They know they are about to leave. And therefore they blinked, and they blinked because of the fact that they can't afford another election. Here is somebody challenging the authority of the Indian state, creating a constitutional crisis. A government is supposed to run on the strength of rule of law. Anarchism is a negation of the rule of law. And if you are a self-proclaimed anarchist, you can't administer the state in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution. It's a challenge to the authority of the Indian state, and yet you blink. And what is the issue at the end of the day? A transfer of an SHO for which a country's Republic Day is threatened? It's a theatre of the absurd which has been enacted between the Congress party and the Aam Aadmi party. The Aam Aadmi party is there in power today because of the sins of the Congress party, their misjudgment that they've put such irresponsible people in power.
Now the BJP keeps saying...
And I think therefore I have no doubt in my mind that we have two losers at the end of the day. And both the Aam Aadmi party, which is a greater loser, they may have got two officers to be sent on leave, but they have lost a huge, huge constituency.
And the second loser?
Of course, is the Congress party, that its statecraft is completely absent how to deal with a small agitation of this kind. It was a dramatic agitation, but it was not a massive agitation.
When you say Sushil Kumar Shinde has saved Republic Day parade, but he's weakened the Republic, why do you say that?
Well, we'll have a peaceful Republic Day parade. I'm very happy for that. You weakened the Republic because that's Indian constitutionalism. You have now a self-proclaimed precedent where a chief minister can say, I can defy a law. You have a chief minister and a party in power in a state which says, we are committed to anarchism, which is a negation of the rule of law. You have a minister who can get away with a conduct which is a conduct where he says, I have a right to interfere with a criminal law matter. Now look at the irony, a paradox. The whole basis of Anna Hazare's agitation was the CBI, which is a police of the central government, must be independent of the central government and not controlled by it. But in Delhi, because we have come into power, the Delhi police must be under our ministers. The larger question of Delhi being a union territory or a state with police powers is separate. But every word you said about the CBI and Anna's agitation, a complete reverse logic is being given today. That why not put police under my minister? Why should my minister not have the power to direct the police? Well, then why should Mr. Narayan Swamy not have a power to direct the CBI? The central government can argue. Now, this is demagogy of the worst kind I have seen. And to this demagogy for a central government to say that, okay, to get rid of this, we offer you a lifeline, please go away. You've shaken the very foundations of our constitutional order in this.
But Mr.
That anarchism is to be accepted.
But Mr. Jaitley, all parties in Delhi have the same. All parties in Delhi have the same view on who the police should report to. Both Congress and BJP and Aam Aadmi Party all believe that the police should be under the elected government.
Yes. You see, police for its law and order functions can be under an elected government. Therefore, if you get statehood, the law and order power will be with the chief minister. But the criminal law investigation is different from law and order power. It has to be completely independent. This was not a case where for deployment, peace, tranquility, that the minister was wanting the police to take an action. He was setting into process an investigation, a search, a raid without compliance of law. And therefore, in no state can a chief minister direct a police officer to raid somebody's house.
One last question. The Aam Aadmi Party has not practiced conventional politics even in the build-up to its victory or rather bringing it to a place where it could take charge of Delhi. Do you believe conventional politicians like yourselves are underestimating the depth of cynicism with conventional politics? Could it be that while you call this anarchist, there is a huge constituency out there that has been in the past perhaps a bit at the receiving end of what they believe is police high-handedness that is backing Mr. Kejriwal today?
Well, I can understand that if there is police high-handedness, we'll deal with police high-handedness. They will be accountable to the law, they'll be accountable to the judicial system. But if conventional politics implied corruption, if it implied VIP culture, I think that was a good point which was being made by the Aam Aadmi Party. They squandered away that point. But if alternative politics which they propound about is going to be anarchism, is going to be destruction of a constitutional order, is going to be vulgarity, is going to be lack of civility by the ministers, then God save this country from this brand of alternative politics.
You came under some personal attacks from Somnath Bharti. Any comments on that?
Well, it was certainly lack of civility. There was a threat of bad hygiene involved in that also.
And you won't say more. We leave it at that. Arun Jaitley, thanks so much. Leader of the opposition saying Sushil Kumar Shinde may have saved the Republic Day parade, but he has weakened the Republic. Our newsmaker tonight on the buck stops here. So is it advantage Arvind Kejriwal or is the Congress guilty of abetment to anarchy, as the BJP has alleged. The BJP has reacted sharply to the fact that any of Arvind Kejriwal's demands have been accepted, saying that this exposes that this is a joint operation of the Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party. But Arvind Kejriwal is calling this a victory of people power. What sort of precedent will this set for the politics of 2014? And has Arvind Kejriwal emerged victorious after this standoff, this unprecedented standoff on the streets of Delhi? Let's introduce our panel this evening. From the Aam Aadmi Party, we're joined by senior leader Prashant Bhushan. From the Congress Party this evening, we're joined by Kiran Walia, prominent face of the Delhi Congress. With me in the studio is Kiran Bedi. She's a former IPS officer, now an activist, and also has come out openly in support of Narendra Modi as the best candidate in these elections. Also joining us from Bangalore, Captain Gopinath. He's of course a well-known industrialist, but he's also a member of the Aam Aadmi Party. Prashant, I'd like to start with you straight away. The fact of the matter is that the Aam Aadmi Party had wanted 4 police officers suspended. Instead, what has happened is that you have had one SHO, that's the SHO who was involved in the area where Somnath Bharti conducted his midnight raid alleging a sex and prostitution and drug racket. That SHO has been suspended. Another officer who's been suspended is actually connected to the Danish rape case. In the Rakhi Birla case, Arvind Kejriwal is saying the accused were arrested anyway. Would you call this a victory for the Aam Aadmi Party, or would you call this a compromise between the Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party?
Barkha, I don't think that this issue needs to be seen so narrowly in terms of victory or compromise. The issue that the Aam Aadmi Party had raised was a much larger issue, going well beyond these 3 cases which were highlighted. The issue was whether this Delhi police can remain and can continue to behave in this brazen manner without being accountable at all, can continue to flout all rules and laws, etc., can continue to refuse to register FIRs when credible cases are brought before it, can continue to in fact beat up the people who come to get FIRs registered of people and so on. And the other issue was whether this Delhi police needs to be brought under the control of the state government, because whenever people have complaints against the Delhi police, they approach the state government and those who are in charge of the state government. And it's very incongruous for the chief minister to have to say that, well, I can't do anything because the Delhi police is not at all under my jurisdiction.
Would you say you're satisfied?
Of course, we want the Aam Aadmi Party wants wants police reforms.
Yes.
Means wants proper accountability of the police.
But would you say you're satisfied with what the
complaints
Lieutenant Governor offered today? Would you say you're satisfied with the outcome that led to the Aam Aadmi Party calling off the dharna?
Yes, I am certainly satisfied. In fact, this dharna now needed to be called off. The point had been made. This whole issue had been highlighted. And I think what the government has done is certainly enough for us to call off the dharna for the time being. But the larger issue, as I said, the larger issue which has been highlighted by this dharna is the main issue. That is police reforms, accountability of the police, bringing the police under the overall jurisdiction of the state government rather than keeping it under the central government.
But
these are the main issues which have been highlighted.
Questions will continue to be raised about what we saw unfold on the streets of the capital. Is it a healthy precedent for democracy, or is it a dangerous precedent? And I want to get Kiran Bedi in on this. You're saying on Twitter right after this
Just
decision.
1 second, Barkha.
Yeah, you want to come in for one sentence before I go to Kiran? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You see, the manner in which some of the media has framed this issue as if a dharna by a party or even by members of a government regarding such an important issue of police reforms as well as bringing the police under the jurisdiction of the state government, as if a dharna amounts to anarchy. I am surprised that the BJP people are saying that this dharna amounts to anarchy while breaking down the Babri Masjid or beating up women in bars, etc. by their assorted goons like the Sri Ram Sena, that's very good governance according to them. But this peaceful dharna by a party or on such an important issue, this amounts to anarchy. I mean, what kind of logic is being used by these political people these days who are frustrated?
You have a problem with the media even bringing the word anarchy into this. Kiran Bedi, as somebody who's been a police officer and you've argued passionately in favor of police reform, do you accept that the Aam Aadmi Party's larger pursuit was police reforms? Now, what I was going to ask you was, on Twitter, you've said this is a climb down. You've said it's a climb down for the Chief Minister, not a victory. The BJP is saying this shows that the Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party were in this together. What are your first thoughts? You've heard what Prashant has had to say.
I have a few points if you give me a few minutes.
Yes.
First of all, I think it's an exit and a face saving given to Arvind Kejriwal.
Not a victory?
No, it's an exit face saving. He asked for suspensions. I don't think anybody's got a suspension to the best of my knowledge.
Yeah, they're on leave pending inquiry. Yeah.
So no suspensions, but he was insisting on suspension. So A, it's an exit and it's a face saving, both for government to survive and he to exit. Why? Because he was getting a very bad image of being anarchical. It was very bad. And it was a great climb down. Secondly, so as I said, what about the ministers? Where are the ministers? Because the allegations are also against the ministers. What about Bharti and the allegations against both? Because the judicial probe will establish that. You've not done anything, which means, that's why I tweeted, it's unjust and it's shameful. And therefore, it's at the cost of police. You can continue to sacrifice police, and you want police reforms? Isn't police reforms including that you don't play around with police?
You're saying the decision amounts to political interference with the police?
Absolutely, it's a political. So you want police reforms at the cost of police?
I'll get Prashant to respond to that.
At the cost of police?
Yeah.
Don't they need, it is the same Kejriwal who was asking, and Prashant, asking for insulation from the police in public political interference, and now you wanting them to decide suspensions and transfers. What is this insulation? That's what we asked the CBI. Fourth, you said people's chaos. I think it's been
people's victory.
People's victory. I think, what about people's chaos? Has he asked for? Has he said, "I'm sorry for all the chaos which happened"? Has the Chief Minister of Delhi said, "I'm sorry for all that has happened and the inconvenience"? There's no public apology. So I would think. And secondly, here's a constitutional body who said, "I'm anarchical," and it has he has violated the law. I want to know whether Delhi police has registered a case against him for all these violations. I want to know that.
Prashant Bhushan, this is an interesting point. You say the media and the BJP is saying the Aam Aadmi Party is full of anarchists. Arvind himself stood up and said, yes, I'm anarchist. He, of course, was saying it in the context of saying, but Sushil Kumar Shinde is corrupt. That's what he was actually accusing the Home Minister of. But to Kiran Bedi's very important point, you say you're doing this for police reforms, but what you've actually done tantamounts to A, political pressure on the police, and B, at the cost of the police. Please respond to that, and then I want to get Kiran Walia in.
No. We want police reforms. We want independent police complaints authorities that were ordered by the Supreme Court. If there had been such independent police complaints authorities and this police had not been under such corrupt ministers as we have in the central government, then probably these police officers, or some of these police officers at any rate, some action would have already been taken against them.
But Prashant, as a lawyer,
not just these police officers, so many other police officers.
Prashant is such a senior lawyer. Are you comfortable with what Somnath Bharti did? Did you see his language saying that Arun Jaitley or Harish Salve ke muh par thukna chahiye and so on? Were you comfortable with his midnight raids?
No. I'm not comfortable with Somnath Bharti's language. And so far as Somnath Bharti's actions that night are concerned, they are also open to question. However, there is one version of Somnath Bharti and the other local people who were there. There is a version of these Ugandan and the Kenyan women, etc. Certainly the matter needs to be independently inquired into.
Why has the minister not moved out?
And if in an independent inquiry,
why have they not moved out the minister?
Kiran is asking your question, Prashant. Kiran, go ahead, and then Kiran Walia is waiting.
When the minister's action is also under inquiry, why haven't they moved out the minister? When the minister's conduct, Prashant,
when he is not in a position, he is not in a position to interfere with the inquiry or any witnesses, etc. But the police is in a position to interfere.
He's under inquiry today. Why is he staying on? Where is the fairness and justice in this? This is being unfair to the police also. How can you continue to use the police force like this? Use it when you do and drop it when you do. Who's going to listen to the police? Doesn't police need a grievance redressal? Doesn't the police need to be heard? Just because the police commissioner can't hold a press conference and doesn't tell the fact, doesn't mean that he continues to sacrifice his cops. This is not fair.
Okay,
unjust.
Prashant, quickly respond to that, and I have to open up the panel then, that the police has been humiliated today, that the police has not been given the same recourse to public expression that the politicians have. Isn't this the kind of thing you all used to fight against?
No, the police should certainly have proper recourse.
Which recourse?
But when you have a situation repeatedly, when our supporters went to register FIRs for rape cases, they were beaten up by the police. I mean, this has been a pattern that we have been seeing repeatedly. Street vendors are being beaten up every day and police is collecting hafta from them. Rickshaw pullers are being beaten up every day. The police is collecting hafta from them. This is a pattern that we are seeing in the Delhi police, not just in the Delhi police, in the police across the country.
Okay, now
and that is why we need police reforms of a fundamental kind.
Okay, now
we need police firstly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I was just saying there's also
go ahead,
no, I was just going to say, Kiran, give me a second. Kiran Walia, I want to bring you in because there is also a political question
but
here.
There's a first
Should the government have done what it did?
I
want to
no, just this is the first time the police actually took the courage to tell the minister, this is not lawful to raid the women at night. This is the first time. And you sacrificing for doing the right thing. You sacrificing for doing the wrong. You sacrifice for him to do the right.
Kiranji,
when is the police going to act?
Kiranji.
Yeah.
Why are you just harping on the Somnath Bharti incident? I am saying that the Somnath Bharti incident needs an independent inquiry.
But do move out the
minister what about
too?
This other case of
Please
this Rakhi Birla? What about this case of this girl who has been burnt by her in-laws?
Move
where
out
this
Rakhi
girl
too. You
made
do not know the other side. I know the other
police.
side too. Let's be fair and just move out both.
Okay, let's just both of you hold your thoughts for a minute. Kiran Walia, the Congress's decision, because in the end this was a Congress decision. The Congress's decision smacks of what the BJP is calling a compromise. They're saying this is a joint operation between Aam Aadmi Party and the Congress. Now, hasn't the Congress been trapped and outsmarted by the Aam Aadmi Party? We're actually saying in the game of one-upmanship, the Congress is the loser because you offered support. The Aam Aadmi Party has virtually put you on notice, withdraw support. You don't have the guts or the gumption to withdraw support, but all you do is keep criticizing. Kiran Walia.
Yeah, you made a point, but I think what really weighed, because I also heard on the news just about 15 minutes ago, that what really was weighing on their minds is the Republic Day. And it's not that, that Republic Day is not important because they would have held the whole thing to ransom. They were holding Delhi to ransom. There's no denying that. So what is perhaps, and it's evident was weighing on their mind, was the 23rd January, there is a rehearsal, there are a whole lot of people coming from India for the Republic Day. And it's the first time the nation would not have celebrated Republic Day ever since independence. That is one big major issue.
But do you believe the Congress is contradictory? Ms. Walia, do you believe the Congress is a very contradictory position on the Aam Aadmi Party? Mr. Kejriwal in an interview to me said, in a few days I'll be proceeding with action on the Commonwealth Games files. The Congress will regret supporting us. They are daring you to withdraw support. You all seem paralyzed.
No. But it's not that. If such a situation arises when we really think that, the whole lot of people are now upset with them and they're detrimental, their functioning is detrimental to the interest of public, then there is always an occasion to rethink our stand. But when it comes to issues like Somnath Bharti, let me say that here it was an outright violation.
But wait, Kiran Bedi has a question for you, Kiran Walia, and then I'm going to go over to Captain Gopinath. Kiran Bedi, ask your question to Kiran Walia. One minute, Ms. Walia, you have to answer the question.
Kiran, have you been held to ransom then? Are you feeling that you've been held to ransom by the same party which you're trying to keep there? Why are you trying to keep? Are you being held to ransom? Is 26 January a reason to be holding you to ransom? As a party, a national party leading the government today, is it being held to ransom?